She stormed into my yard with her phone raised and screamed, "Shut this down now or I'm calling the cops." Red and blue lights from our Christmas decorations flashed behind her like a bad joke. Kids laughing, music playing, hot cocoa steaming in the cold. She slapped a paper on my chest and said it was an HOA order. Said we were disturbing the peace. Said my kids were violating rules that didn't even exist. I didn't argue. I just watched as she yelled at my wife, pointed at our guests, and told a crying kid to keep it down or go home. Then she smirked and dialed 911, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Yes, officer. Illegal gathering, trespassing, refusing to comply," she said, staring right at me like she already owned the place. The music cut. People froze. My son grabbed my coat. Someone whispered, "Are we in trouble?" Karen stepped closer and lowered her voice, cold and proud. "This neighborhood doesn't belong to people like you," she said. "I'll have this house fined. Maybe locked." I took a slow breath. I looked at the fake notice again. Wrong address, wrong seal, wrong name. She didn't know it yet, but she'd just picked the worst night. And the wrong man. I checked my watch as sirens echoed closer and thought, she thinks she's about to win. 2 patrol cars rolled up fast, tires crunching on snow. Karen waved like they were her personal guards. "Finally," she said loud. "He's been warned before." The officers stepped out and looked around. Kids in Santa hats, neighbors holding cups, a big tree glowing in the yard. One cop frowned and asked, "Who made the complaint?" Karen jumped in front of him. "I did. I'm with the HOA. This party is illegal. Noise violations. Unauthorized decorations." She handed over her fake paper like it was gold. The officer barely glanced at it. "Ma'am, this doesn't look official." Karen snapped back. "Are you blind? I run this neighborhood." She pointed at me. "He refused my order." The cop turned to me. "Sir, is this your property?" I nodded. "Yes." "And you gave permission for everyone to be here?" "Yes." Karen laughed. "Permission doesn't matter. HOA rules override everything." The second cop looked around again, then at the address on his tablet. He paused. Karen didn't notice. She was busy whispering to my wife. "Enjoy this while you can." The cop asked calmly, "Ma'am, which HOA are you with?" She hesitated, just for a second, then said a name that didn't match the screen. The air changed. I felt it. One of the officers stepped away and made a quiet call on his radio. I leaned down to my son and whispered, "Don't worry." Karen crossed her arms, smiling like she'd already won. "I told you," she said. "Power always wins." She had no idea whose driveway she was standing in, and who had just been alerted. The officer came back and asked me for my ID. Karen smiled wide, like this was the moment she'd been waiting for. I handed it over without a word. She leaned toward the neighbors and said, "Watch closely. This is how rules are enforced." The cop looked at the card, then looked at me again, slower this time. His face didn't change, but his tone did. "Sir, can you confirm you live here full-time?" I said yes. "And this event?" "Annual Christmas party." "Open invite." Karen jumped in again. "He never filed for approval. I warned him twice." The officer raised a hand, stopping her mid-sentence. "Ma'am, please wait." She froze, offended. No one ever told her to wait? The second cop's radio crackled. A quiet voice came through, not meant for everyone, but close enough. "Supervisor's on the way. Don't clear the scene." Karen laughed it off. "Oh, calling back up now? Good." She stepped closer to me and whispered, "When they tow your cars, remember I tried to help." At that moment, a black SUV pulled up. Not police, city plates. 2 men stepped out in coats, looking serious. Conversation stopped. Even the kids went quiet. One of the officers straightened up fast. Karen squinted at the SUV. "Who are they?" No one answered her. One of the men looked straight at me and said softly, "Sorry we're late." Karen's smile faded just a little. The Christmas lights kept blinking. Red, blue, and for the first time that night, Karen felt it too. Something was about to turn, and it wasn't in her favor. Karen stepped forward like she still owned the moment. "This is a private HOA matter." She snapped at the men from the SUV. "You can leave." One of them didn't even look at her. He looked at the officers instead and said, "Is this the address you flagged?" The cop nodded. "Yes, sir." Karen blinked, Sir? She turned back to me and hissed, "What did you do?" Before I could answer, she pulled out her phone again and started recording. "Everyone see this," she said loud, pointing at me. "This man thinks connections will save him." One of my neighbors shook his head and whispered, "She's pushing too hard." Karen didn't hear. She never heard warnings. One of the men from the SUV walked closer, calm but firm. "Ma'am, we need you to step back." Karen laughed, sharp and ugly. "You don't tell me where to stand." She waved her fake paper again. "I shut houses down for less." The officer reached out gently. "Ma'am, please." She yanked her arm away and shouted, "Don't touch me!" That was it. The mood snapped. Radios crackled. Phones came out. Kids were moved behind parents. I finally spoke, slow and clear. "This party is permitted. This land is private. And she's been warned before." Karen spun toward me. "By who?" she demanded. The man from the SUV answered before I could. "By the city." Karen's face went pale. Just a shade, not fear yet, but confusion. And confusion was the first crack. Karen crossed her arms tight. "The city?" She laughed, trying to sound strong. "I am the authority here." One of the officers asked her to step aside again. She refused. Said she wasn't moving until my illegal party was shut down. That's when one cop quietly told her, "Ma'am, you're interfering with an active investigation." She rolled her eyes and said, "Write him up first." Then one of the men from the SUV pulled out a folder, thick, not paper thin like hers. He opened it and showed it to the officers only. I saw their posture change. Straight backs, serious faces. One of them nodded slowly and said, "Understood." Karen noticed that. Her voice cracked just a bit. "What's that?" she asked. The officer turned to her. "Ma'am, this address is listed as a city-approved public gathering site tonight," Karen snapped back. "That's impossible." The officer continued. "And this homeowner filed the permit personally." She laughed again, too loud. "He doesn't have that power." I looked at her then. Really looked. "You never checked," I said. "You just assumed." She stepped closer, angry now. "People like you don't run cities," she spat. The words hung in the air, heavy, quiet. One of the men from the SUV cleared his throat. "Ma'am," he said, calm and steady, "you've made a false report, used forged HOA documents, and disrupted a permitted event." Karen's phone shook in her hand. "Arrest him!" she screamed again. The officer didn't move. Instead, he asked her, "Do you know who you're talking to?" She said the line she would regret forever. "I don't care who he thinks he is." The man from the SUV turned toward me and nodded. I nodded back. No smiles, no drama. He faced the officers and said, "For the record, this is Mayor Daniels." The yard went silent. Even the music felt like it stopped breathing. Karen's mouth opened, then closed, then opened again, but no sound came out. One officer blinked and said, "Sir, apologies." I waved it off. "Let's just finish this." Karen laughed once, weak and sharp. "That's not true," she said. "Mayors don't live like this." I looked at her and said quietly, "I do." She tried to step back, but an officer gently stopped her. "Ma'am, please stay here." Her voice rose. "You can't detain me." The officer replied, calm. "You are being investigated for filing a false police report." Her phone slipped from her hand and hit the snow. "Still recording," neighbors murmured. Someone whispered, "She called his kids a nuisance." Karen's face went red. "This is a setup," she shouted. "He's abusing power." I shook my head. "No," I said. "You abused yours, or what you pretended was yours." The officer read her rights. Right there, in front of everyone. Christmas lights reflecting off the badge. She tried one last time. "You can't do this to me," she cried. I leaned in just enough and said the line people would repeat for years. "You tried to shut down Christmas. On my street." They walked her past the tree she tried to silence, past the kids she scared, past the neighbors she thought were beneath her. No cuffs in the air, just quiet justice. Her heels slipped in the snow as she kept saying, "This isn't over." No one answered. The patrol car door closed, slow and final. One officer turned to me and asked if I wanted the party shut down anyway. I looked around, at families, at veterans, at immigrants, at kids holding lights like they were treasure. No, I said. Turn the music back on. The song came back, softer at first, then louder. People breathed again. My son smiled like the night had been saved. A neighbor raised a cup and said, "To freedom." I didn't give a speech. I didn't need to. I just said, this is what this country is about. Your home is your home. Snow started falling again, calm, clean, the kind that makes things feel right. And as the lights blinked red and green, I thought about how close she came to ruining it all, and how fast fake power falls when it meets the real thing. Because I didn't become mayor to control people. I became mayor to protect nights like this. Later that night, after the guests left and the street went quiet, I stood on the porch with my family. Snow covered the marks where her heels slipped, like they were never there. My wife squeezed my hand and said, "You okay?" I nodded, I was. But I knew something important had happened. By morning, the video was everywhere. Her yelling, her fake papers, her calling the cops on a Christmas party. People saw the part she never expected anyone to see. The moment fake authority collapsed, the HOA issued an apology. An investigation was opened. And the rules she used to scare people were frozen, pending review. I looked at my kids eating leftover cookies and thought about that night, about how easy it is to judge someone's power by their house, their clothes, their silence, and how dangerous it is to assume the quiet man won't push back. I didn't post about it. I didn't brag. I just put the decorations away and went back to work on Monday. Because titles don't matter at home. Respect does. And the line people kept sharing said it all. Never threaten a man's family. On his own land, end the story. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more amazing HOA stories.